next speaker is a mother of 5, soon to be married to a French Canadian, and is a self-proclaimed serial entrepreneur. Her latest business venture is an online educational platform where leaders can come and learn from her entrepreneurial successes and challenges. She is a busy woman, always pushing the possibilities. Here to discuss the power of introversion, Darlene Gagnon.
Hey guys, thank you. The introvert's worst nightmare is standing in front of people. Do you know that 50 to 74% of the people sitting in this room are actually extroverts? Celebrity entrepreneurship, it's at an all-time high. I mean, extroversion is on display everywhere. And so it's easy to find this correlation between if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, you must be extroverted, right? I mean, it's on display everywhere. If we look at it, we've got Mr. Wonderful. There's no shame in his game, right? He's very outgoing. We've got a multi-billion-dollar empire that was built on the back of having a strong online social media presence. And it's even in our political atmosphere, right? Everywhere we look, introverts are living in an extroverted world. I mean, it's on display everywhere. And so it's natural, if you're an introvert, just like I am, to feel a little insecure. Or maybe you even feel the need that you've got to compete with your extroverted friends. Well, for all the introverts that are here, and for you extroverts that have introverts that work for you, I've got some information that might help you, and I've also got some news for you. Introverts are actually proving themselves through history and incoming studies to actually be the most successful entrepreneurs and leaders of our time. And why is that? I'll tell you, introverts are masters at execution. This is really their cause for success. They are extremely detail-oriented. They've got this real unique ability to tune out the noise around them, take innovative ideas, turn them into reality. We as introverts, we're very much internal thinkers, thinking all the time. And our cherished alone time that we love to have so that we can think, we use it very wisely. We're constantly working on ways in our head to improve our business, improve our personal life. We actually can sit for very long periods of time mastering the skills of learning. Self-development, professional development for ourselves is an ongoing process. And I will tell you what our competitive edge is. Our competitive edge is that we hear the details in a room that are never spoken. I tell people, when you've got an introvert in a room, they see more than you think they do, and they also observe more than you know. I'm gonna tell you, we're silent, but we're deadly. We really know what's going on. And so, you know, even though I'm standing here as an introverted leader among some of the most successful entrepreneurs in this room, hail to all of my EO friends, I would say that maybe 10 years ago when I first started my businesses, I was not sure that I could be successful only because of one obstacle. I mean, I had a lot of self-confidence. I've overcome a lot in my life. I felt pretty good about, you know, what I wanted to do with my 2 marketing companies. But I had one challenge, and quite frankly, it's the introvert's worst nightmare. I know all the introverts are gonna be silently inside going, yes, I get it. And I'll tell you what that worst nightmare is: dealing with people. And you know, I know when you're in business, you gotta deal with people, right? You gotta have clients, you gotta have vendors, you gotta have employees. And in my entrepreneurial journey, I learned that there's this kind of special group of people, salespeople, sales acceleration, but you guys are very special, and for an introvert, it's so hard to learn how to interact with you guys. So if I wanted to fuel this kind of entrepreneurial drive, I had to figure out, how am I going to start a business, build a business, scale a business if I've got to be around people all the time? So I have come up with kind of the 7 strategies that I used during the time of my entrepreneurial journey. And I'm going to share those with you. I hope that maybe one or two resonate with you, especially if you're an introverted entrepreneur. If you are an introverted person, I'm hoping that some of my life skills might resonate with you. So let's get started. The first thing that I had to do, and actually this applies for extroverts as well, is I had to master my own internal power. You know what I'm talking about. It's those voices in your head that are constantly telling you and reminding you of all the things that you're not. And I had to stop comparing myself to all of my extroverted friends that like to lead their business front and center with all of their team behind them. And I had to give myself permission to take a step back and be okay leading from behind. And what does that look like? Building my people, I had to move my people in front of me, and I had to stand behind them and guide them, just kind of like you've got on a boat. You know, you've got that guide in the boat. I had to lead them from behind. And so when you're building your people, you are organically building a culture. Even if you're not paying attention to your culture, I promise you, you've got a culture within your business. And in my early stages, the best culture for me was a silent culture. I mean, less of this and more of this was like the perfect working environment. And I remember Roz coming in, my COO, and saying, "Darlene, we cannot live in your world. We need some excitement." So we had to find cheerleaders in our company. Our first cheerleader was Cassie, who's now my daughter-in-law, and we are a family of introverts, and she's still our cheerleader in our family. And you know those cheerleaders, they're the ones at the sales meetings that are high-fiving and like love team building activities, cocktail hours, networking events, and those damn communication starters and meetings, and they always want to get to know everybody. Yes, those cheerleaders. And actually, I do love them because I will never, ever be those people. But they keep my culture alive and thriving. So if I want my culture growing and I want a good foundation for my business, right, then it's really important to me that people know how to do their jobs. And we are a very much a process-driven company. We focus on hiring self-starters. Those are the people that know when to start doing something right for the company, stop doing those damn mistakes that we make all the time, and keep doing those things that have always worked in our business. And processes are focused around those horrible words, standard operating procedures, which we all hate to write out. But I'm going to tell you, if you're an introvert, it's the greatest gift. The reason why it's the greatest gift is because introverts are traditionally innovators. And the best thing that you can do, actually the highest payoff activity for your business, is keeping your leader in the seat of innovation. The more time I sit in that seat of innovation and the less time I'm doing this and hand-holding employees, the more time I can spend innovating our company to stay ahead of the competition. So I got great people, I've got a great culture, I've got great processes outlined, but I've got my team in front of me, I'm behind. Remember, with my extroverted leaders, they're standing in front, their people are behind, and they are setting the example. My people are in front, they can't see me. So how can I make sure that they're keeping up with the high levels of productivity that I need them to do and represent me as if I were sitting in their own seats doing their work? When they're out there in the community, how do I make sure that their level of productivity of done right, on time service, deliverables, that they are representing our brand, speaking in the same language as I would? Well, there's an art and a science to it, and it's called training. We spend a lot of time training our people. Actually, we devote 200 hours of professional development training per employee per year. I throw up everything in my head to my HR people, and we make sure that they take that and construct it into training so that our team can be very successful representing out in the front while I stand behind them. Make sense? So, with all of that, it's very important that you understand that it's not a perfect environment when you're leading from behind or you're a more reserved leader. You have to deal with perception. As a more quiet leader, I have been perceived as being aloof, stuck up, reserved, unhappy, and worst thing I think I ever heard was, does she even have leadership skills? And I'll tell you what I did to combat that. I did what all introverts like. I got to know people on a smaller environment, more intimate settings, creating deeper levels of relationships. Great competitive edge for me as a leader because I got to know people beyond what they thought I knew. I got to know a lot about their lives. I got to mentor them, share my story, and be able to help them and grow. And more importantly, in those smaller one-on-one luncheons or those smaller team dinners or those one-on-one employee meetings, I was able to showcase my leadership skills. Now, don't get me wrong, I may be quiet, I may be an introvert, but I'm a mother of 5 adult children, and I'm running 2 businesses, fairly successful. Mama knows what she's doing. And I'm gonna make sure that you understand it clearly. So those smaller meetings are very important for introverts to make sure they can showcase who they are and what they stand for. And so you've got people, you've got processes, you've got productivity happening, you've got, a great environment where people are making sure that perception is being dealt with, and, purpose is there as well. And planning is there as well. One of the things that we do is we make sure that people understand in my company who I am as a leader. Actually, every department, we share their personality profiles. It helps people understand how to have acceptance with diversity. And planning this big circle, this big graph up here, takes time. And when you're an introvert, that time alone can sometimes be clouded with guilt. You know that feeling when you're at work, you feel bad for not being at home? Or when you're at home, you feel bad that you're not working on work? I gotta tell you, you gotta honor that time to plan. You gotta protect and keep those boundaries of time and communications for yourself without any guilt. Now, these are kind of 7 strategies that I've kind of used to grow and scale my business. And if you are struggling with any area of your business, the one thing I can tell you is go back to your core. Always go back to the center of power. Master the voices in your head. Trust your intuition. Trust the skill sets that you were born with. And make sure that you understand that you are doing some things right in your business. Just keep on that pace. It'll be fine. Don't worry. Now, I am about 2 to 3 hours. There's a great cartoon that I'm hoping they'll put up on the screen so that you can see exactly who I will be. In 2 to 3 hours, I will be peopled out. I will be sitting in my studio, zenned out, working on my next entrepreneurial project, and I'll also be internalizing and thinking about all the things I could have said during the speech as well, over and over again. But I want to leave you with this kind of challenge. And the challenge is stop focusing on the things that you lack. If you're an extrovert, stop looking at introverts and saying, I should be more quiet. No, it's okay. You don't have to be. If you're an introvert, don't think that you need to be up here on stage or you need to be doing Instagram stories every single day. It's okay. We spend so much time taking courses, listening to other people on professional development and learning to try to build and develop all those areas we lack. You know what we don't do? We don't take our strengths and leverage them and cultivate them and build upon them so that we can become more powerful just as we are. And you know why we don't do that? Because a lot of times, like when he said, we don't know who we are. The minute you understand your core God-given traits that encompass you, those traits that you were born with, and you begin to self-appreciate yourself exactly where you stand, and you keep reminding yourself who you are, it becomes a habitual habit. So, I'm going to tell you what I do. It's called the rinse and repeat method. It's not in the shower, okay? Every morning when I get up, and I got to silence those voices, I rinse myself in self-appreciation and self-love for who I am as an introverted leader. I don't need to compete. I'm good right here. And I'm going to challenge you to do that. Every morning, get up. And not only rinse yourself, do me a favor, drown yourself in the waters. Drown yourself in the waters of self-appreciation and self-love. And then I want you to rinse and repeat and rinse and repeat. Thank you, guys.